Hello and welcome back. So now it's finally time for us to set up the long-awaited combo attack system. So in order to do this, the first thing we want to make is another enumeration, because this is what's going to handle our attack type, whether we're doing melee or ranged attack. So I'm going to right click and go under blueprints and create a enumeration attack type _E. And this is going to have three things inside of it, so boom, boom, boom. The first one is just none, like we don't have any weapons equipped, we're not going to be able to attack. Second one is going to be melee, so we're attacking with a sword. And then ranged, so when we have our bow equipped. So I'm going to save that real quick and close it. And then under the project settings, we need to set up an input. So I'm going to go under the inputs. I can minimize all these right now. And I'm going to add an action mapping called attack. I'm going to set this up for the left mouse button, but you can use whatever you like. Now that that's done, I'm going to go inside the player blueprint. And in our variables, our booleans, we want to add two more booleans, plus that attack type enumeration we just created. So I'm going to add a boolean. This one's going to be called can attack, or ATK for short. So for default, this one's going to be true. I'm going to add another one called ATK saved. So this is one that we will set to true when we start attacking, so that it'll register that we're in the middle of a combo and we need to continue with it. So I'm going to add one more variable, and this is going to be my attack type. And I'm going to find that attack type enumerator. Then I'll compile that real quick. And the way we're going to set this is right at the end of our drawing sword function. I'm going to move this change equipment out a little bit, and I'm going to unhook these. If you hold left Alt on the keyboard and then left click a wire, it'll disconnect. So on the drawing the sword out, I'm going to drag out my attack type and set it so that we can set we are now in melee mode. Yeah, melee mode. We'll do it here, it'll be fine. And then on the sheathing sword, we'll just set it back to none. And we'll just hook that right there, because we're going to set it up to where we can't attack when we're changing equipment anyway, so it'll be fine. You can do this in the spawning gear if you wanted to, but this right here will be fine. So now I'm going to find some space. In the next video, we'll probably just go ahead and clean all this up and make it a little bit more easy to navigate, but right now I'm just going to find some space and bring out that attack function. So first thing I want to see is, do I have a weapon equipped? Or no, I want to find out, am I changing equipment? If I'm not, then I want to do a switch based on our attack type. So if I'm not changing equipment, we'll drag out our attack type and do a switch. So from the melee, I'm going to drag pretty far away and add a branch. This time I'm typing it in, but you can do the B left click if you like. And I'm going to hook up my can attack variable to it. Remember, you want to go ahead and compile when to create that one and set it to true, so that you can attack as soon as you're able to. But once we do, we want to set that we can't attack. So we'll set that to false as soon as we click. That way we can't spam it and make it try to fire the same stuff over and over again. But once we do attack, we want to set that we do have an attack saved. So we want to add another variable real quick of an integer, and this is going to be our ATK combo. So I'm going to change that to an integer, compile real quick. It's going to be defaulted to 0, but I'm going to drag it out get it, and then do a switch on integer. So that when we first start, it goes through the first one and all that. We don't need that default pin. We will need 3 pins though. So I'm going to add those because I'm going to have a downward slash, an upward slash, and then a final kind of a 360 slash. So what we want to do off these is a lot of combo attack systems I've seen, they use the animation montage, which is great, but what I've seen, it's harder to custom fit the animation. Like I want you to be able to attack on the go, so it should be able to run, which I don't know how to do a blend with montages, so we're going to be doing all this in the animation blueprint. So we're going to add 3 more booleans: attack 1, attack 2, and attack 3. So this is going to be ATK1, and it's going to be a boolean. And then we'll just add another one that's ATK2, and another one that's ATK3. So I'm going to compile that, and off the first one I want to set ATK1 to true. Now if we're running back through this, just as a safety precaution, I'm going to set the previous one up to trigger to false, which if it's already false, it's fine. It won't affect anything. So on 0 we're setting 1 to true, on 1 we're setting 2 to true, on 2 we're setting 3 to true. So on 0, 3 would be the previous one, so we'll set it back to false. Then on 1 we'll set 2 to true and 1 to false. And then on 2 we are setting 3 to true and 2 to false. So it's kind of like this staggered, so 1 1 2 2 3 3 type thing. So after we do our first attack, we want to set that, okay, we've done our first attack, we need to increase this so that it'll run through the next one on the next fire through. So I'm going to drag out my attack combo, I'm going to get it, and I'm going to increment it. So INC, and then I'll increment just like that. I'm going to hook both of these up to it, because when it runs through this time, it'll bump it up by 1. When it runs through this time, it'll bump it up by 1. And then when it runs through the final time, we want to just go ahead and drag it out one more time and set it back to 0. So that it'll run through all over again. Now, the final attack is going to be, she'll have a spin to it, so I do want her to stop moving on that one, but all the other ones she'll be free to attack on the go. But this will be like a little finalizing the combo type thing. So we're going to add a function to tell her to stop. So I'm going to add a function, and this is going to be called adjust speed. And its input is going to be a float, because this is how much we're going to set our next movement speed to. So I'm just going to change it to speed and make it a float. Now I'm going to drag out my character movement and set walk speed. So I'll just hook that up just like that, so that whenever we call this function, we'll be able to put in how much we want our walk speed to jump to. So now back in the event graph, right at the very end, I'm going to drag out my adjust speed function, and I'm just going to leave it at 0. So just to clarify, we are checking to see if we can attack or if we're currently attacking. If we can attack, then we're making it to where we can't just fire through this again and telling it that we're currently attacking, so we need to save that we are. So we're then checking our position in this attack combo and proceeding based off the number of our attack combo. So now after all this is done, we need a custom event that will be called reset ATK or attack. So our animation notifies are what's going to trigger and let us tell this that we can attack again. And this is what's going to tell our animation that we want to go back to our base blueprint. So if this goes back to false, then it'll run back through to our base armed state. What am I trying to say? Yeah, words. That's why I'm struggling. So when we reset the attack, we want to basically drag out everything and set it back to basic. So I'm going to drag out the can attack and set it back to true. Our attack saved and set it back to false. Our attack combo and set it back to 0, which it should already be, but just in case, because we're going to call this at the end of every animation just to make sure it does it just right. And then we'll set all of these back to false. So I'm going to drag out all of our attack booleans, basically resetting it back to like we just hadn't pushed nothing. And then I want to drag out another adjust speed, which I'm actually just going to Control C and Control V, and then set it back to our normal run speed. So for mine it's 450, which if we adjust this to 450 while it's at max speed, it won't do anything. So this will be called from an animation notify at the end of our attack functions. So I'm going to box select all this and push C on the keyboard to get a comment box. And I'm going to just call this melee attack. Box select that. Attack system. I'm going to compile and save real quick. And then I'm paranoid, so I'm going to make sure, yeah, still recording. Alright. Now, inside the player animation blueprint, in here, we want to add 3 more states. So I'm going to go from the armed over here, and this is going to be attack 1. And I want it to go back to the armed so that we can enter or exit from this state. So from here I'm going to add another one called attack 2. And I don't want it to go back to this one, but I do want it to be able to go back to our armed state in case they only get to this one and then they're like, alright, I don't want to attack again, they can go back to their basic armed state. And then one more, you guessed it, attack 3. And then we'll hook that back to the armed state as well. So this, we can go from here to our attack 1 so that when we start our combo, we can either go into it, we hit once, we can come back. Or we hit twice, come back. Or we complete the combo and then come back. So now we need to establish all of these. So we'll compile real quick and go to our event graph. Now I'm going to copy the cast to player, and I'm going to add 1, 2, 3, 4 pins. 4 pins. Let me check real quick. Let me check my notes. I'm pretty sure 4 pins, but I'm going to make sure. Attack 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Alright, 4. Yeah, 4 pins. Alright, so I'm going to hook that up. Control V and paste. And just hook them all just like that. And then I'm going to grab all 4 and drag them down to the bottom. Kind of put them, arrange them real nice. Give them some space in between each one. And from the first one, I'm going to grab that ATK1, promote it to a variable called ATK1, hook it up just like that, ATK2, promote ATK2, ATK3, get it, promote that, ATK3, oop. And then for the last one, we want to see if the attack saved. So we'll get that one, and then we'll promote that to a variable called ATK saved. And hook that just like that. Now with all 4 of those done, let's put them in their appropriate places. So I'm going to go back to my state machine, and I'm going to open the one that goes from armed to attack 1, and hook up, what the hell. Alright, drag off the attack 1 and hook it just like that. Now back to get to attack 1, or from attack 1 to attack 2, hook that just like that. Same thing with 3. And now for all of the return values, we basically want to check to see if our attack is still saved. If it's not, then that means we've reset our attack and we're going straight back to base. So we'll just hook all these up just like that. And then compile. So now we want to set up the actual attack states. So for a attack 1, I want to find... Now there is one attack in here that we're not going to use because I accidentally packaged the wrong one. And I'm pretty sure it's this one. No, 6 is the good one. Is it 7? Yeah, 7 is the one we're not going to use. So that one was the one I got on accident. We're going to be using this. This will be the final attack. That's like the combo finisher right there. So was it /6? That's going to be my first one. The first attack. So in attack 1, I'm going to drag out /6. But I don't want to hook it straight to it, because I want our character to be able to move as she's attacking. And if we hook it directly to it, then she'll be gliding around like that. So I want to drag off of it, and I want to do a layered blend per bone. We want to hook the /6 to the blend pose, because our armed blend space is going to be our base pose. Remember, that's basically the bottom half, this like top half, the way we're going to set it up. So I'm going to hook up my direction and my speed to it. And now in the layered blend per bone, we need to set up its layers. So we're going to go to the, if it looks like this, then just click that drop down and click that one, and then the branch filter. This is where we can set the bone name we want to filter the animation through. So we'll add an element. Now for the bone name, I'm going to set this off the very first spine, so just spine. Now remember, if you need to check your character's skeleton, just click this button right here and you'll get the full skeleton hierarchy. So I'm setting mine up off spine. Also remember that you do have to spell it exactly the same, capitalization matters, all that jazz. So now for the blend depth, this is basically like at 0 it's all here, and at 10 it's all here. So we want it kind of halfway in between, so I'm going to set it to 5. Now the mesh space rotation and the mesh space scale, that will make sure that the animation applies to, or does the way it's supposed to, based on like this one blends or rotates and scales according to it, and this scales and rotates according to it. So for the curve blend option, we also want to normalize by weight. This will make it to where instead of being all weird and flailing awkwardly, she's facing the right direction. So we're going to compile that real quick. I'm going to make sure that the loop animation is off for the sword 6, otherwise it'll mess with our animation notifies. And then I'm going to copy everything except for the place sword, or the sword and shield /6, and then copy it. Because that way we don't have to set up the bone layers every single time. Now we can go into attack 2 and paste that. And the next one is probably /8, I think. Yeah, there's the second attack. So I'm going to drag out the /8 and hook it to the blend pose. Make sure that loop animation is off for it, and just to double check, you'll see we still have that spine set up and the blend depth. Everything's still set up the same way. Now for attack 3, we don't have to use that layered blend, because on this one we're actually setting her speed to 0. So we'll just drag it out and hook it directly, and then I'll make sure its loop animation is ticked off, or turned off. We don't want to tick nothing off. I'm going to save everything real quick. So now in the player animation blueprint, we need to establish some animation notifies. So I'm going to go into the animation attack 1 state, and I'm going to open that first attack. So I'm going to find about where I want to be dealing damage, and I'm going to go right here, and I'm going to add a notify, new notify. This is going to be where we call our attack trace. Now we'll probably set that up in the next episode just to keep these from getting too long. So right after we get to about here, I'm going to add a notify, another new one, called resume attack. And then at the very end, I'm going to add a new notify called reset attack. Now I am going to move this one all the way to the end at the red line, just to make sure the final thing it does before it turns this... Oh, that's funky. Before it turns this animation off is it's resetting. So that way, anywhere between here and here, we can move to our next attack. So now we need to go through our sword and slash 8. Let's see. So right about there is where I want my attack trace. So I'll just add notify, and under skeleton notifies, I can just go ahead and attach those same ones. And then right about not far after it, I'll just go ahead and resume attack. And then close to the end, oop, oh, son of a bitch. Alright, reset attack. Sorry for my language. Excuse me. And I'll move that right to the very end again. So now in our standing melee attack 360, I'm going to, right about here is probably where my attack trace will go. And then we don't need to resume the attack because this is the final one. So I'll just go to the end and then add my reset attack. Hook that like so. Come back out to the main menu and save everything real quick. Check my time, 22 minutes. Not bad, I guess. Alright, we're still good. So, once that is all done, we need to actually call these from the player animation event graph. So in the event graph, we'll come up here to where we've got our animation notifies going. And on resume, no, wait, where's my notify? Oh, okay, don't drag off the player reference, otherwise it'll try to pull it from there and it's not there. So just right clicking anywhere in the empty graph, type resume attack. Now from the player reference, we want to drag off and get our can attack and set it back to true. I'm going to copy this and move it up. Right click anywhere in the empty graph and find reset attack. And then we'll call our reset attack function. So if it gets all the way to the end, then it will, reset like we set up. So let's check everything real quick. I'm going to equip a sword. And she ain't doing nothing. Why ain't she doing nothings? Changing equipment. Got that set back to false. Should be calling that fine. Can attack is defaulted to true. Attack saved. Check my notes real quick. Why ain't you doing what you're supposed to be doing? It's something stupid, I'm sure. Some stupid little thing that I'm overlooking. Changing equipment is false. Changing our attack type. We set that up here. Can attack. If true, then we set it to false. And then it moves through attack 1. Oh, God. Okay. It is something stupid. Alright, we don't want it to be transitioning back if attack saved is true. But I'm more... So we want to drag out our attack save. Now this, I'm adjusting the return transition rule. So all 3 of these I need to fix. So I'm going to drag off the attack saved and set these to not. So that if the attack saved is not true... I'm just going to copy that real quick. Oy vey. So what it was doing is it was basically going straight up and coming straight back because it was set to true. So if the attack saved is not true, now let's test you out. And then if I attack once, she attacks once. If I attack twice, she's attacking twice. And if I click it all 3 times, then boom, she goes straight through. So yeah, I'm a moron. That works though. Alright, so yeah. One thing we can do. So right now, if I jump and attack, you'll see her animation actually turns back. So what we can do is, just like we set up in the jump to where if she's changing equipment, she can't jump, we can also do drag off the changing equipment and set up an OR boolean and see if we have an attack saved. So if we do, well, this will compare both of these, and if either one are true, then it tries to fire that, but if they're both false, then it runs that. So we'll compile real quick. Grab that sword. So yeah, I can't jump after I'm attacking, but I can jump and attack. So let's fix that. So what you want to do is over in your attack system, same thing, changing equipment, except for this time we want to make sure 2 things are false. So we'll drag off and do an AND boolean. This will compare both of them and return the result. So the other one will function if this is true or if this is true. This one will only function and call true if both of these are true, or call false if both of these are false. So I'm going to right click and call is falling. Hook that to the bottom one. So if changing equipment and we are not falling, or if we are not changing equipment and not falling, then it'll let us run through all this. So now if I pick up a weapon, is falling. Why you do this? Maybe it's another not situation. Let me just try that real quick. I get the booleans confuse me sometimes. Oh, it's still letting it run through. Alright, screw it. Let's try an or. Okay, it was the or. Alright, well then forget what I said a minute ago about the and. It's an or also. So yeah, alright, I'm gonna get rid of that real quick. Drag that into place, and then yeah. So in the next one, we'll start setting up our attack trace function so we can start doing damage. Actually, in the next one, we'll probably clean up some stuff just so we can navigate a little bit easier. We'll start putting these into their correct categories and stuff like that. Just a little cleanup video. So, alright, I will see y'all in the next one. Bye-bye.